Everyone. I'm so excited to be here today talking about how good content and optimized content can coexist. Now, this is really one of the questions that I get most often is, should I write for people or should I write for SEO, right? Should we write for robots or should we write for humans? And oftentimes people think that it needs to be one or the other. And I'm here to tell you that it can be both. And in fact, it should be both. So I want to tell you today a very specific and much better process for ideating and writing and optimizing content that is really useful to your audience, but also can be really valuable for search engines. So it's a 5-step process that we're going to go through, and it starts with content strategy. It moves on to identifying topics that have been researched from an audience and search engine perspective. It includes a very important content brief that I will show you how to write, and it makes writers really happy and allows you to update and re-optimize content for really impactful search engine performance. So let's get into this. First, content strategy. I am recommending to you that you have a content strategy before you get into that room and brainstorm. If you look at what I have on screen now, there are several very basic tenets of a content strategy. Now, you can also find really robust content strategies out there, but I would encourage you to think about what your goals are when you're writing content. Are you trying to increase website traffic? Are you trying to establish thought leadership? Are you trying to generate leads, answer customer questions? Make sure you identify those goals at the outset. So this content strategy is the first most important part of this process. Only when you have that content strategy can you go into that topic ideation phase. And this is where you're really understanding your audience and the search engines and the volume of what people are looking for in general. Here are a couple of my favorite ways to brainstorm topics. I love to talk to sales team and ask them, what are the top 20 questions that you get from customers? I love to do the same thing with the customer service team, right? What are the top questions you're getting from customers? A really important part of this process to make sure that you give your writer the best possible chance of writing a good piece of content is to have a well-researched content brief. Happy writers happen when you write a content brief. And what happens in terms of these bonus benefits is writers have that SEO research before the content is written, meaning that piece of content is built with SEO in mind. It's written with SEO in mind. Writers understand what the audience is looking for. They understand that context, so they can match the content to the search intent. This is huge for search engine performance. The final part of this process is to not just release this piece of content into the world and hope and pray that it performs. You've done a lot of due diligence up until this point, but when you launch that piece of content, I want you to revisit it over time. For me, usually a good cadence is every 6 months to a year. I like to really audit and review the content that I have out there. And I like to consider if I need to update or re-optimize that content. So I gave you a lot to think about today. We have a whole process for how we write, not only for humans, but also for search engines, and do it in a way that meets both of those needs.